guys? This is Justin here for Ableton Basics, and today we're going to be kicking off from the absolute ground level of this thing. So, assuming that you guys have never done anything with audio, music production software, somebody just told you to download this weird program, and that's what you did, and you did the right thing because Ableton is awesome, and it's consistently my favorite software to work in. And I think you'll come to love it in time as well. So, what do you have here? Ableton is a digital audio workstation. You can compose, loop, you can make all kinds of weird, crazy, spacey sounds. You can record, you can work with MIDI, you can work with video. Really, anything to your heart's desire, this software can do most of it. So, let's talk about when you first open the program, this is what you're going to see. So this is the session view of Ableton. It's one of two views that you can work within. And the difference between this view and the other is that this is much more for looping. If you like to work with loops in terms of your composition, or if you like to potentially perform with loops, this would be something that you want to come back to. But in our case, we're going to spend much more time on the arrangement view, which is going to be over here in the top right. I'm just going to click those horizontal bars right there, or I can hit tab to quickly flip between them. And voila, we are now in the arrangement view. As you can see, this is a timeline kind of grid-based system, a way of looking at audio progressing over time here. At the bottom, I have my time represented in seconds, and at the top here, I have it represented in beats. So those beats will be related to the fact that I'm in 4/4 time. That's the time signature. And then my beats per minute here. So this is the tempo. So it's currently at 120. I can raise or lower that. I can type it in if I need to. I can also tap it out if I'm just trying to figure out what my tempo should be. Just click that with my mouse. Now, just some basic controls here. You see that thing moving here? That's my playhead. So my playhead, I can put that anywhere. That's just going to be the point where when I hit play, that's where it moves from. Or if I hit record, that's where it moves from. So it's kind of like the focal point. And then just the basic kind of playback controls here. At the top, I have play, obviously, stop, record. And then over here, I have my loop brace. The loop brace is going to be a tool that I use if I just want to jam on something for a while, or if I'm processing something, putting effects on it, and I just want to hear it over and over again. I just grab that loop brace and I can move it around, and it's just going to keep playing until I tell it to stop. So I'm going to turn that back off for now. I can move it around really to anywhere. Now at the side here, I've got my tracks. So tracks are going to be all of the audio information. So when I record something, it'll be over time in this track. And then I've got MIDI tracks, audio tracks, down here, return tracks, which we'll come to tomorrow. Those are for effects. And at the bottom, my master track. And each one of these can fold up or down. I can change the color. I can group them together. I can select multiple by holding Shift while I click, and Control click to bring up these extra options. And then I go to group tracks, and that would help me stay organized, say if all of these were maybe vocals. And I renamed that by hitting Control, rename, call it vocal. Or the way I quickly did that was hit Command R as well. So I'm going to undo that. Over here on the right, I have all of my track controls. So this is going to be, where's the audio coming from? So it's coming from channel 1 right now. So if you're recording directly into your computer on the built-in microphone, or whether you're using an audio interface, it'll probably come in through channel 1. If you want to hear yourself while you record, you'd want to select in or auto, and that would make sure, oh, you see here, it doubles when I do that because I'm monitoring through my audio interface and through Ableton. So it sounds kind of crazy. And then if I want to mute a track, I just hit its number right here. So that's going to turn everything off. That's like an on and off button for the audio. Next to it, I have my solo function. The solo will only play this particular track, all of the audio in that track here. You can see it grays everything else out as well. If I want to record something, I'm inevitably going to have to record arm it. Record arming is basically our way of telling Ableton, hey, when I actually come up here to record, here's the tracks that I want to actually record on. So if I wanted to record on this one, I just have to come up here to the top and hit record. If I didn't do that, if it was off, nothing would happen. If I want to be able to record multiple, I do have to hold Command and click those, and it'll record on both of them. Now, beneath that, I have the volume control here. It's going to raise or lower the volume. And then I've got my panning control left and right. I can move this sound all the way to the left or the right. And then over here, I've got, where's this audio going to go? It's going to go down to my master track here. So I can unfold the master track. Everything here, MIDI, audio, return tracks with effects, everything's going to come through my master inevitably. And I've got the same functions here. I've got volume on my master. I've got left and right panning. I can really do anything with it. So let's talk about, as you can see, when I recorded a second ago, I'm getting these clips here. So a clip is our representation of our audio file over time. And I can zoom in and take a closer look here by putting my magnifying glass up in this top bar here. I can also hit the plus or minus button on my keyboard. So as you can see here, if I put my playhead at the front, so I'm getting these. I've got my voice there, and nothing. It was on channel 2 here, so it didn't end up recording anything. I'm just going to delete that. I just hit delete on my keyboard to do that. Now with this clip here, let's talk about some basic editing. And maybe this would be a good time to bring in a different clip here. So I've got something queued up. Let's grab it here. I'm just going to copy it. Or you could also drag it in just the same. Go back to live. And I'm just going to hit my playhead where I want it to land. And now I've got an audio clip. And I can move this thing around anywhere I like. If I control click on it, I can duplicate it. I can undo that by going to Edit, Undo Duplicate, and Undo Duplicate, or Command Z is a quick way to do that as well. I can zoom in, and maybe I just want these first two things. Maybe I just want the first two things here. Let's turn that down a little bit. So maybe I want to separate this into 2 clips. I can hit Control click and then come down to Split. Now I've got 2 clips that I can independently move around here. I can cut them up even smaller if I zoom in more. Another way to do that is Command E on your computer keyboard. Now, what if I want to do a fade in? What if I want to make the volume come in subtly at the beginning? Well, I'm going to go up here to the beginning of the clip and just drag this thing in here. This is going to be my volume. You can see that the waveform's getting smaller there. I can do the same thing with the end of the clip too. I can do a fade out. Maybe I want to loop this thing so I'm getting these fades right. So I just move my loop brace again, make sure I click on it, and make sure I turn it on too. This is just going to keep playing this clip over and over again. So not too bad. What if I wanted to, say, delete those, and I just did undo there? You could go up to Edit, Undo again to do that. And what if I wanted to kind of fade in the volume more subtly, or have it go over time from the absolute lowest value to the highest value? Well, I'm going to need to do an automation. That's exactly what an automation is. It means that any parameter in live, whether it's volume or a reverb or echo or delay, any kind of creative effect or panning, I can change that over time. It's really easy to program into Ableton. I just go up to the automation menu up here at the top. You can see that it gives me these dotted lines. So this is like the representation of that parameter over time. So right now, and this is, it's on track panning is the automating function that I'm doing. But what if I want to go to volume? So now this line is representing volume. And I could put my volume I just add a little dot here. And now it's going to be at the maximum value at the end of the clip. And I'm going to add another dot here just by clicking on that line. And now it's going to be at the lowest value. If I put my playhead here, hear that the volume is now automating to be louder over time. Automations are super helpful in composition and for any kind of mixing as well. Now, if I want to automate something different, like panning from left to right, I would just drop this down here and go to track panning. And maybe I'll have it go at another dot here from left to right over time. Okay, and now what if I wanted to add maybe some echo over time, some reverb? Well, I would go over here into the browser. So this is the browser window over here. All of my assets, all of my content that I might want to use, all my effects, drums. Over here, we've got virtual instruments, wavetable, which we'll be adding in a later video. Everything that we might need to bring into the project is organized over here. So I'm going to go to audio effects and search reverb. And I'm just going to drag this thing over here onto my track, and you'll see that it pops up down here. I could also just have dragged it down here too. So this is going to be my audio effects area. So these are all of the effects, and it processes from left to right. These are all the effects that are going to be changing the sound of my track right here. So all of the clips that are on this track will be affected by this plugin, the reverb plugin now. Now, we're going to cover the reverb plugin in the next video, but I do just want to automate maybe one quick effect here, or one parameter, and I'll do that on the dry wet. So the dry wet will be the expression of this reverb. When it's dry on the left, you won't hear it at all. When it's wet all the way, you'll hear it at maximum reverb. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently this time. I'm going to keep it at its lowest value, and I'm going to actually play the reverb knob kind of like its own little instrument instead of just typing it in like I did before, instead of drawing it. So if I'm going to do it this way, I want to make sure that I unarm the track because I don't want to record anything. I just want to record automation. I don't want to record any kind of audio. So I bring my playhead back to the beginning, and I'm going to hit record. Now I'm going to bring this knob up here. You can see that instead of having to draw it in, this is a little bit more fluid. You can maybe make this a little bit more musical. Totally a personal preference thing, but it is nice to have the option of being able to automate from one of those two different ways. So if I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and export it. So when we export something, it's either going to be as a WAV or an MP3 file. A WAV is going to be the much higher resolution file, and an MP3 will be a lower compressed version of that audio. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and select the area that I want to bounce down or export, and I do that with the loop brace here. I'm just going to grab the area that I want to export. I'll grab this whole thing. And then I'm going to go up to File, Export Audio. And it's going to be exporting the entire thing that says master, or the entire thing that we were just selected. And the only thing you really need to worry about here is whether or not you want an MP3. It'll always give you a WAV file, but if you want an MP3 file, if you're just maybe sharing something, these upload a little bit faster to things like Dropbox and Drive, but they are really going to lose quality though. You always want to make sure that if you're submitting something or collaborating that you use WAV files. Most of the time I don't really need an MP3 file. And then you're just going to export it here. And you're going to name it. I like to name my files with the date. I always start with the year, just because I've been doing, so many files over the years, and they're all on, one big hard drive. Just helps me stay organized. So I'll call this 2004-22 Justin demo project, and then I would just save it, and it's going to bounce it down. Perfect. Now let's talk about saving this file real quick. So this is going to be the entire project. I'm going to go to File, Save Live Set As, and I'm going to call this, let's see, again, I'm going to put the date in 200422 project. And I'll save this on my desktop. So this is going to give me the entire project folder. There's something really important that we need to point out here, whether you're submitting an assignment or collaborating. Now, we want to actually go to the file that I just saved. I just grabbed it in my browser there. Whether you're on a Windows or a Mac, you will be able to find this the same. Now, when I open up the project folder, I'm going to see several things in it. It's got an ALS file, and it's got these subfolders here of Ableton project info, samples. So these are all the things that I recorded. So what I wanted to point out was that if you were to just submit this or give this to your collaborator, this project file, it looks like that would be right, but if they try to open it, there's going to be nothing in it. All of your samples are going to say offline because it doesn't have anything to work with. You need to send the entire project folder, this thing that we're looking inside of right now, or if you want to see it in the other view, this entire thing here. It folds down and it's got everything that we worked with. So really important distinction. You don't want to show up to the gig or to collaborate or submit something that is just the ALS file. So lastly, I wanted to just mention as well, if you are recording and you wanted to, if you're having some kind of latency, so latency would be like if you are talking into the microphone and you're hearing a delay in your headphones. That's usually because the buffer rate is too high. If you're not hearing anything, it's going to be in the preferences up here. So we go up to File, Preferences, or Live Preferences, and that buffer rate option is right here. So a higher buffer rate would mean that there's going to potentially be more latency, but it's going to be less strain on your computer. Whereas the more you bring that buffer rate down, you're going to get rid of the latency, but it's going to put more strain on your computer's processing power. So the key is really just to find kind of a middle ground that'll work for your computer, where you get rid of the latency, but it's not clicking and popping and doing all the things that a bogged down computer would do. I usually find that 256 is totally fine and I don't get any latency. If you are not hearing anything, it's probably because your audio output device isn't selected correctly. It should be on built-in output if you're listening through computer speakers or through just like the built-in speakers on your laptop. If you are recording straight into your computer's built-in microphone, that's what you'll select, built-in microphone. If you have an audio interface, obviously it will be in this here as my Scarlett is. And that's really all you should need to know in the preferences. And we're going to be covering so much more about this, but I hope this has been able to get you guys at least off the ground in terms of what some of these different buttons do. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about processing and a lot of cool different effects. And I will see you in there.